So what is a square? A square is a four-sided shape where all sides are equal. But that's not quite the square I'm thinking of. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So in math, we have something called an exponent. And what that exponent does is it's a smaller number placed next to a larger number, and the smaller number, the exponent, tells us how many times that larger number is multiplied by itself. So in this case, the exponent is 2, so we can rephrase this as 6 times 6. If the exponent was 3, it would be phrased or put in expanded form as 6 times 6 times 6. However, in this case, it is just 6 to the second. But this can be rephrased as 6 squared. So anytime an exponent is 2, we call it squaring the number. So let me show you why that is. So I have here a grid of 36 individual parts. Keep in mind that when you multiply 6 times 6 or square the number 6, you get a total of 36. So in this grid, all 4 sides are equal. Each side has 6 individual parts. And so that is why squaring, putting a number to the second power, is also known as squaring it. And so a perfect square is the result of 2 of the same numbers being multiplied by themselves. And a square root is the number multiplied by itself to get the target number. So in this case, 36 is the perfect square, and 6 is the square root. As you can see here, we have 6 groups of 6. But what about imperfect squares? So 15 is an example of an imperfect square because no 2 numbers multiplied by themselves equal 15. Let's check that. 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 4 times 4 is 16. So already we've gone over our target number of 15. So in order to find the square root of an imperfect square, the first step is to find the 2 closest perfect squares, one that comes before it and one that comes after. So in the case of 15, the one that comes before it is 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. And the one that comes after it is 16, and the square root of 16 is 4. So we know that the square root of 15 is going to be somewhere in between 3 and 4. It's going to be 3 point something. So the first thing that you do is draw a number line with all the numbers in between your perfect squares. 9 on one end, 16 on the far end. And then what you can do is you can just circle your target number. In the second step, this is where I can kind of get a little bit freaky. So bear with me. The first thing you do is find the distance or difference between your 2 perfect squares. So 16 minus 9 gets you 7. The next thing you want to do is find the halfway point in between your 2 perfect squares. So 7, which we got from doing 16 minus 9, divided by 2 is 3.5. Then, starting from your smaller perfect square, you go up 3.5. And that will get you the halfway point between your 2 perfect squares. But what this also does is that serves as a reference point. So what I mean by that is if your target number is greater than the halfway point, then you would count up starting from the halfway point. If the target number was smaller, you would count down starting from the halfway point. In this case, our target number 15 is greater than the halfway point, which is 12.5. So starting from 12.5, we will count until we get to our target number. So 3.5, 3.6, 3.7. So the square root of 9 is about 3.6 or 3.7.